Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Just Give Me the Mic, and I'm your host, Deborah COCO. And we have a special segment today. I just had the pleasure about a week or two ago going to the Miss for the screening of The Godfather of Harlem, and today we have the pleasure of having an executive producer here, Markuann Smith. So I want to thank you for joining me today on the show. Excuse my voice a little
That's all right.
but I want to thank you for coming because it was such an inspiration to come to that event. I mean, I got an invitation from a friend of mine who's actually in it, Charles Macy. Me and him are longtime friends.
Okay.
He was like, I want you to come down and check out this screening and meet the people and network. I said, okay. And when I got there, just seeing all the love, like everybody was so supportive of you. You had so much media there. Everybody that I spoke to and it said your name, they were like, oh my God, he's such a great guy outside of, accomplishing this great, feast. Great task, I'm sorry, of putting this whole show together. So congratulations to you. I want to open up the show saying that. And give us a little background on you before we get into The Godfather of Harlem.
First of all, I want to tell you, Coco, thank you for inviting me to Just Give Me the Mic.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. My background is, started off in music. My older brother's an artist by the name of Father MC.
All right.
So I came up in Harlem on 128th and St. Nicholas, and I moved out to Far Rockaway, Queens. And growing up in Far Rockaway, it was really kind of like, if you know about Far Rockaway, that's the last stop on the A train.
Yes, I know.
Like, you don't want to fall asleep because you might end up back in the Bronx.
Oh, no.
Or you might end up naked somewhere. Like, it's real out there, Far Rockaway, you know. But Far Rockaway, it raised me, it molded me. My older brother got a record deal with Andre Harrell.
I remember. I remember Father MC, yes.
And Andre Harrell started Uptown MCA Records.
Okay.
So I started going on the road with my brother and became a roadie.
Oh, okay.
So when I was on the road being a roadie, Tupac was a roadie for Digital Underground. Tretch was a roadie for Latifah. So I learned a lot of, the basics about business, being on the road. And also I got a chance to travel and see the world and see different places and meet different cultures and meet great individuals during my life.
The music definitely opened up the doors for a lot of different entities that time, right?
Yeah.
And the people that you mentioned coming out, being with your brother, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Tupac, Tretch in his early days, Latifah in her early days, Digital Underground, all relevant people in hip hop today. So that's how it started for you. But how did you get into writing? How did this whole project of The Godfather of Harlem come about for you?
I was I would say I'm the initiator and created the premise for Godfather of Harlem before Chris Brancato, who created a TV show called Narcos, came and became the showrunner on it. So I had this project since 2000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2000, 2001. And Margaret Johnson, who's no longer here right now, and she's like my godmother, but Margaret is also Bumpy Johnson's granddaughter.
Okay.
And Demi Singleton plays her character in Godfather of Harlem.
So she's the little girl.
She's the little girl, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So coming by Lenox Terrace, where Margaret lived at, she used to tell me these magical stories about, hearing Sam Cooke's voice coming out of a transistor radio, walking down the street, smelling fresh laundry on a summer day, or walking past 125th Street and seeing James Brown's name in the marquee, or even seeing Nat King Cole getting a haircut at Sugar Ray Robinson's barbershop.
Right.
So I used to, it was just so mystical and magical about the things that she used to tell me. And she also told me about her grandfather, who was Ellsworth Raymond Johnson. But the magical thing about Bumpy that kind of like differentiated him from any gangster was that he was also a philosopher. Yeah. He was a thinker. He read Shakespeare. He read Nietzsche. He played chess. He grew up with cats like Lucky Luciano, Meyer Lansky, Bugsy Siegel, Frank Costello.
Like the Italian mob.
These are all, but these are the original Italian 5 families that started. So Bumpy came up with that around that time in that era. So
now, around what time frame was this?
Well, this is like, Bumpy was born in 1905, I believe. On Halloween. His birthday's coming up, October 31st.
Wow.
So this probably was like in the 20s to the 30s. This is when he had his battle with Dutch Schultz, over the bootlegging aspect. You know what I'm saying, the prohibition and things of that sort. So she used to tell me these magical stories about Bumpy, and I made her a promise before she passed away in December of 2016 that I would get a show done to tell the world about who her father was. You might have seen her father mentioned in the Cotton Club. You might have
Right.
seen him
We
mentioned
have.
in American Gangster,
Yes.
Hoodlum, but she wanted the real story about her father told, and not just about the characters around her father, but about her father.
His story.
His story,
To get his
absolutely.
story out. Because that's true.
Absolutely.
We've seen little depictions of him within other people's story,
Yeah.
not his story
Yeah.
as itself. And what I like about it is that you're showing his home life,
Yeah.
You're showing different sides
Yeah.
of Bumpy Johnson,
Yeah.
which, like we said, we've never seen that before.
Yep.
I mean, back in those days and up until now, we mainly get to see what the media puts out.
Yep.
The bad things they want to depict about us throughout
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
But to see that, him go home to his family, how he is with his daughter, how he is with other aspects of his life and the community,
Yeah.
right? We don't really know about that. You
Yeah.
might hear about, oh, he's doing drugs and he's doing this. It was really actually two sides to him, right?
Exactly. I mean, and I want your audience to know we're not glorifying dealing heroin
No, not at all.
at all. We're basically talking about a older gentleman who came home from doing time in Alcatraz in 1963, and the transition and the redemption and the growth of a man who realizes the destruction he brought to his community and him trying to change.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to show.
I was going to
Yeah,
ask you that.
exactly.
The goal of the project
Yeah.
is to do that.
Yep.
Okay. So how was this process for you, though? Let's go back to you. Because you had to find actors. You had to do, you had to do the casting. You're part of that as well, right?
Well, when you're putting out a project, you have different departments and different people who handle different aspects of the project.
Okay.
So ABC was part of this amazing cast that is put together. I did a lot of the research. I sat down in the Schomburg Museum, pulling microfilm, eyes burning. I did it with a friend of mine by the name of Tony Gentry,
Okay.
who helped me, and we just got all the material that we needed on Ellsworth, because there's not that much material out there on him
I was going to ask you
other
that.
than what Margaret gave me.
Okay.
And pictures that she allowed me to use and things of that sort.
But you also had like an historian, so
Yeah.
to speak,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Who was at the screening.
Yeah,
and-
but before Professor James Small came into to play, he came on later on. It was really all on me to present a package that was
The
credible.
initial, right.
The initial package that was credible for the writers' room. Once there was some interest in this project, I was able to bring Professor Smalls in and let Professor James Small, who has wonderful, wonderful DVDs online called Hidden Colors. He's
Okay.
an amazing historian.
Wow.
He was also Malcolm X's sister's bodyguard after Malcolm passed away.
Wow,
I was able to
okay.
bring him on board and introduce him to the team, and he brought the authenticity of the Muslim world,
He
the
did.
nation. Yep.
Definitely. It was awesome. I like the way you brought in, you had the Malcolm X, you had the Adam Clayton Powell, right?
Yep.
So you got to see his involvement with kind of political,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then also the religious aspect, you
Yeah.
know? And I thought that was a nice combination altogether.
I mean, because you got to understand, Coco, this is not your average gangster movie
It's
or
not.
gangster show or gangster series. This is about the collision of civil rights and the underworld.
Right.
So you have different arches in this story that we're telling you guys. We got the A story, the B story, and the C story.
Right.
So you're talking about the criminal element, which is common and normal in a gangster, but we're also talking about civil rights.
Right.
We're also talking about religion.
Right.
All this was going on in the Harlem community in the 1960s.
And you got great. Okay, so I like the way you started out breaking it down. You had the writer department. Break down some of the process for us and the elements that you had to deal with to bring this whole project to life.
I mean, think about it. This is 18 years of.
I know.
18 years of something that was just being created in my mind. What happened was there was an individual by the name of Bernard Alexander, who's a good friend of mine. He's managed all the biggest groups from the Fugees to 50 Cents to EPMD, and the list goes on. And he introduced me to a individual by the name of Jim Atchison, who's my partner.
Okay.
And I sat down with Jim. I never met Jim a day in my life, but I sat down on the phone with him while he was in LA and pitched him about Bumpy Johnson. And he's like, yeah, I know who Bumpy Johnson is. I might be a white boy from Boston,
but
I know who Bumpy Johnson is, right?
Right.
So many nights we were on the phone just discussing what would be the right method to go about presenting this project, because we're going to be running up against obstacles, because it's an African American project.
Number one.
It's crime.
Okay.
And we have to go out there and convince somebody to spend $60 million or $100 million or even $1, you know?
Right.
So we put the synopsis together. You know, I did the heavy research, and we had a great package to present to Forrest.
Okay.
Forrest loved it, and he initially signed on as a producer. He didn't sign on to play Bumpy at the time because he wanted to see how further it can go. Now we need to have a full, flushed-out script. Right. So I was getting a lot of scripts from different agencies, whether it was WME, CAA, UTA, Buckwall, writers everywhere that was submitting because they liked the project. You know, Forrest's manager, Joanne Colano, had sent it out saying, hey, we have a dope project, but we're looking for a writer. And one day I was up late one night because the writers that I were looking for, and I was reading their scripts, it just didn't click. So one night I was up on IMDb Pro, true story, and I'm just looking through different of my favorite gangster movies. And I came across Hoodlum, you know? And I saw Paul Eckstein and Chris Brancato. So I called my partner and I said, do you know Chris Brancato? He said, yeah. Chris lives right across the street from me.
No way.
And he comes over for dinner on Sundays. Joanne cooks for him.
No way.
So the stars couldn't align as perfect as possible right now. So now I have Forrest, who's on as a producer. And we have possibly Chris, who created Narcos.
Isn't that something?
And created the movie Hoodlum.
Isn't that something? Wow.
But it took a left real fast because Chris was working on a project on CBS that he couldn't commit to us. And he was also working on the El Chapo project after he finished doing Narcos, so he couldn't commit to writing. But his co-creator, our co-creator, Paul, who Bumpy put his grandmother through college, flew out to New York and said, I'm all in. If Chris is not in, I'm all in, and I want to start writing. So it took us about almost 8 or 9 months because the projects that Chris was working on, it didn't come to fruition. He called me and said, you know what? I want in on this. And we were able to set up the mood to get it going. But he said, you know what? We talked about Bumpy in the Harlem Renaissance era, right? Now we're going to talk about him in 1963.
Isn't that something?
One of the most turbulent times for African Americans in African American history. Medgar Evers just got assassinated. Those young girls, the bombing in Birmingham, in the church. You know, so this was time that we were fighting for our lives. Bull Connor unleashing, you know, dogs and fire hoses on us. So he said, this is the time where we're going to tell. Because if you look at it right now, the Harlem riots is our Ferguson.
Definitely, very true.
Their Cassius Clay is our Kaepernick. You know? So everything is parallel. The LGBTQ movements, the Me Too movements, the Black Lives Matter movement, it all started in the 60s. You know, so it was a mirror that we can tell a story that's parallel to what's happening right now to what's happening in the past.
No, I definitely get it. And it was nice the way things fell for you, fell into place. So now once you got the writers, so you got it packaged, you have to shoot some episodes first, right?
No, we have to sell it.
You have to sell it first before you... See, I'm trying to, for the viewers,
so now you have
I'm trying to
sell
get the process.
So now you have to sell it. So we have a great writer. We have a great producer. But we still have to find an outlet for it, right? And according to Hollywood, African American shows don't sell very well overseas.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, that's the myth.
Right, I was about to say, I'm surprised to hear that.
You could say Black Panther did so well, but it's still an anomaly. It's still like, you know, it's still a myth in Hollywood. So we had to find the outlet that would work for us. So we took it around to different networks, and we got turned down.
Did you take it to BET?
Well, BET, I didn't think would have the bandwidth for us to take it to, because, you know, this project is a bigger than life project, and I didn't know if it could be in BET's bandwidth. You feel what I'm saying?
I understand, yes.
So, you know, we met an individual who just came over to EPIX by the name of Michael Wright,
Okay.
who had a meeting with Forrest after all 3 different networks turned us down and said, you know what, I don't want to be coy about this. I really like this project. Forrest came in singing Have You Seen Her? And Michael started singing Have You Seen Her? Because they were talking about spoken word.
Right.
And Chris Brancato was in the meeting. Paul was in the meeting. I was in New York because I was in a point in my life, it was a dark period for me.
Okay.
Because, you know, I left BET in 2015. So this is an all or nothing. I didn't have a plan B at the time. I don't believe in having a plan B.
Right.
I believe if you have a plan B, you planning to fail.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And then you had dedicated so much time already. How many? By 13 years by the time you got to 2015.
Yeah, about 13 years.
Right.
So this had to work. And Forrest called me. I wasn't picking up my phone. He said, "Man, why you not picking up your phone?" He said, "Are you ready? We got the showboard in the room." So Michael Wright, the wonderful staff at EPIX, ABC Signature, who my deal is with, you know, they all believed in the project and they all championed around us to make this project go where it's at today.
So how do you feel? Now that it's out, we're watching it on EPIX. How does it feel inside with that?
It's amazing to me.
Right.
But it's still surreal. It's
Right,
like, you know, it hits me, then it doesn't. But when I hear, you know, I'm on social media. I wish I had more followers, but, you know, that'll come a time.
That's
you know
coming. Don't worry about it, right.
Social media, to me, that's the new era of people really relating to what's out there on the streets. And when I'm hearing that Godfather of Harlem is a phenomenal show, it's amazing.
Phenomenal. I think
it makes me feel good that we did something right.
It's really good.
And I know Margaret is up there smiling like we did it.
It's hard to believe that this was taped in this time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The scenery, everything about it is so authentic.
Oh, we had amazing production designer Dan Lee. We had, you know, everybody came as a community to make this happen, from the set dressers to the guys who did props, to the grips, to
everything.
All the teamsters out there in transportation. You know, if you're watching it, they literally, this was a passion for everybody.
Right.
You know, from me igniting the flame, everybody saw my passion behind it. They were like, you know what, we're going to make this a winner.
No, it's definitely awesome. If you didn't check it out, please check it out. And also, how did you feel about acting in it?
Oh, man.
How was that?
To be honest with you, I am an actor. That's my first, you know, I've been taking summer stock.
Okay.
You know, acting is what really saved my life growing up in Far Rockaway, because I had to be in a black room and watch movies to drown out the gunshots that I used to hear outside. So I used to watch movies like Rebel Without a Cause, On the Waterfront, Down These Mean Streets.
Good ones.
You know, one of my favorite movies is Once Upon a Time in America.
Right, that's
with
a
Sergio
classic.
Leone.
Yes,
so I used to watch these movies, and that's what really just like brought that creativeness out of me, watching, you know, different directors like Scorsese, Sergio Leone, Guy Ritchie, Coppola. So, you know, me being able to act opposite side of an Oscar award-winning actor, and I'm a method actor, was just really amazing to me. But it wasn't easy for me, though, because even though I was an executive producer, I didn't put myself in there. I had to go out there and constantly prove to people that this is what I am. This is not a game for me. So, you know, I had to get called back. And, you know, it's kind of weird when you're walking in a room with other executive producers and you're auditioning for them. You feel what I'm saying? So
you went through the whole process.
I went through the whole process. It wasn't just, you know, me being selfish. I got to put, no, it wasn't. Believe me, it wasn't. No, I had to fight for every drop of where I'm at right now.
How did you get Swiss Beats and like the soundtrack? Let's talk about the opening music, the theme song for the show. How did that come about?
Well, Swiss that's my big bro, man, and I'm a fan of his. And we sat down with multiple music producers, the best of the best. But I wanted to get that New York sound.
Yes.
Because this is a New York show.
Right.
And the only person that I think that I wanted to pick was Swiss Beats.
Okay.
And Swiss is so creative. You know, shout out to Swiss and Grady and Sylvia Rowan and Zeke Lewis. Those, you know, because our deal is with Sony EPIX.
Oh, okay.
So we're EPIX, Sony EPIX Records, and we're EPIX TV, the network, right? So Epic and EPIX is a tongue twister. But
Yeah.
so Grady and Swiss, I mean, Swiss is phenomenal. What he did was he created what's called a writers camp.
Right. Oh, for the soundtrack.
For the soundtrack. So in every room in his studio, Jungle Studios in the city,
Yeah.
there would be a different artist with the episodes playing up there.
Oh, wow.
And they were writing to
so
it.
They wrote to it.
Yeah, they wrote to it.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Nice.
And that was so creative about it. You know, I mean, Swiss is phenomenal. The title track, Just in Case with Rick Ross and DMX.
Yeah. At the
It's
screen,
amazing.
and I was like, oh my
It's
God,
amazing,
this
yeah.
song is hot. Like, this is really a great song.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you congratulations. I wish
Thank
you
you.
much success with
Thank
this
you.
project. And you said some other projects you were working on too, right?
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I'll say, like, I'm working on the Larry Davis story, if you're familiar with Larry
Yes,
Davis.
of course, yeah.
In the Bronx. I'm doing it with his daughter, Larima Davis.
Okay.
With the Larry Davis estate. I know there's a lot of people running around saying that they're doing Larry
Yes,
Davis.
I've heard it.
But I'm doing it physically with the estate. I think
Okay.
that's the only way that you can present a good project.
course,
You know,
of
not
course.
just a bunch of wild cowboys running out there. I'm working with Suge Knight right now. And
Okay.
possibly putting together a TV series with him.
Okay,
Shout out to
nice.
Suge.
So this is only the beginning.
Yeah, I have a plethora of projects that I have. You know, I'm creative. I always stay creative. I rather be creative, you know what I'm saying, than just, if I can't be creative, I'd rather die. Like, this is just my mind. I'm just a creative individual.
Well, I'm going to say one thing. If you stuck with one project as many years as you did,
Yeah.
you definitely dedicated and committed. We'll say that.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like people to know about you or about you when it comes to, you know?
I tell people out there, like, and this is for your audience, Coco, it's just like, never give up on your dreams. Like, your pursuit of happiness is your pursuit of happiness.
Right.
Always protect your dreams. It sounds cliche-ish, but I tell people every time I do speak that it took me 18 years. Whatever you feel that you can do, make sure you go about and do it. You know,
Right.
I didn't have a plan B, you know. To me, success, I say this all the time, success, if you really want success, don't look at my breakthrough.
Right.
Look at what I've been through.
Right, the
You feel what I'm
journey,
saying? Look
the
at my
whole
journey.
journey,
You
right.
know, if you're not willing to sit down and eat ramen noodles and tuna fish, if you're not willing to get on a buddy pass, knowing that you have a flight on Monday at Netflix and you can't afford a regular plane ticket, and you're
Right.
hoping that they have room to allow you on that plane to
Right.
make that meeting on Monday. If you're not willing to sleep on somebody's floor or couch because you can't afford a hotel room,
Right.
then you're not ready for success.
Right.
So you can either chase your pension or chase your passion. That's up to you. So I tell
I
people,
like passion.
you know, there you go.
I
So
like passion.
I tell people out there that, you know, you only got one life to live.
Right.
There's no bunk beds in the graveyard.
No, there isn't.
When you go,
No, there
when you
isn't.
go, you go.
Right.
So go out there, get your dreams, and don't stay away from the naysayers.
Yes. Y'all heard it. That's right. And where can they follow you on social media?
My social media, my Instagram is @Markuann. It's MARKUANN. And my Twitter is The Real Markuann. That's DAREALMARKUANN.
Now, are you taking submissions? Like, can people send you like a reel or something for some of the upcoming projects, or you're not in that phase yet?
No, I'm really not in that phase yet, because one thing I know, you don't want to overwhelm yourself.
Right, and you
And I
still-
like to focus, because if I overwhelmed myself, Godfather of Harlem wouldn't happen. I'd be just everywhere. I got this going on. I got this
Right,
going on. I got
right.
that going on.
Sit back and see how
so
that's gonna
yeah,
go, right.
absolutely. So, you know, I'm always about focusing on one thing. Like the next project I just mentioned, that's my focus. And I think in order to make it in this business, you have to focus on one thing. Just you can't be a jack of so many trades, because people don't take you seriously.
That is true. And when can we catch The Godfather of Harlem?
Oh, you can catch it on Sundays on EPIX. That's EPIX, premium cable. They've done deals with every cable provider. You can download the app on Amazon, Roku TV, Apple TV. 9 o'clock on EPIX, The Godfather of Harlem. Tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be back. This is your girl, Deborah Coco. Make sure you support The Godfather of Harlem. Good night. Thank you. I got tongue